Hi, guys. Oh, so good to see you. It is Badass Yin. Badass Yin would not be Badass Yin without a badass glass of wine. No pressure, but I have mine, so feel comfortable enough to bust yours out in front of the camera. So, our Yin class this evening is going to be a lovely nature flow. It's going to go by quick. Yin yoga, we're holding the poses for time. We're really getting into those. So there's not a whole lot going on. Like, we're going to get into the pose. We're going to breathe. We're going to feel the stretch, the stress, and then we're going to switch. We're going to take sips of wine or water or tea or whatever in between. Behind me, you will see I have 2 yoga blocks for my practicing pleasure. I also have a blanket and a bolster. Now, none of these are required. The only thing you need for this is a blanket. A blanket is always required in Yin. I also have hiding behind my blanket a couple of scarves because I like propping up on the floor quite often. We're going to start our practice in a swan. So we're going to do a 3-minute swan, but the first minute will be upright, and then we'll go into sleeping swan for 2 minutes, and we'll go to the other side. So for those of you that are not a Yin-ster, swan and sleeping swan are like a half pigeon. So let's just get right into the right side. First of all, I encourage you to grab a blanket and fold the blanket up so it's nice and thick. Lay it across your mat. And we're going to come into the right side. So kind of put your hands in front of your blanket and bring your right knee to the outside edge of your right wrist so that the blanket is in between it's basically underneath your groin, and it's supporting that area of the body. So we're kind of propped up here. And we're going to stay upright in this position for a minute. So I'm going to start my timer just so that we're good. There it is. All right. Woo! Sorry, guys. There we go. Okay, so we're starting in an upright position. So it's also nice to have something under your hands for support. So think about sitting up tall and breathing into your lumbar spine, your lower back. If you do not have something under your hands, I highly encourage you to have something under your hands. Hands on your hips is also okay, but this is better. Now let's quickly, actually, we're just going to breathe here in this part of our swan. Just notice that compression in your lower back as you inhale. Now take a nice big breath in here. And as you exhale, hinge forward and come into sleeping swan. So you're just folding forward. You can make a pillow with your hands. Place your forehead down, or you can stay up onto your forearms, whatever works. Whatever feels good. Now let's go over our Yin Yoga principles, just so that we remember what the goal is in this practice. Principle number 1 is to come into the pose at an appropriate depth, which is another way of saying you're finding your edge. You want to feel like you're finding about an 8, a 7 or an 8 out of 10 for sensation. You're not going as far as you can, like you want to go to a point where it's a little bit uncomfortable, but that you can be there and allow yourself to slowly soften and get a little deeper. So don't go to your max. We still have a minute. Well, a minute and 4, 3, 2, 1, final minute. So in this final minute, just really focus on breathing here. Your only job is to breathe and notice how your breath changes the sensation of the pose. Principle number 2, resolve to remain still. Principle number 3, hold the pose for time. So in Yin, we are patient. And all we do is breathe and notice. Take one last deep, deep breath here. I'm gonna let it go nice and slow. And slowly start to press yourself up. Make your way back into table. And feel free to just extend your legs out behind you or take downward facing dog, whatever feels great. I love a down dog after a nice swan in my yin practice. But just take it for as long as you need. There's no need to stay as long as I'm there or as short as I'm there. It's your choice. We're gonna come directly to the other side. So your left knee is coming to the outside of your left wrist. You're walking your right leg back, propped up on your blanket. Grab your blocks for under your hands, and we're going to start with our swan upright. And if being upright is not your friend, feel free to just take the sleeping swan variation. There's no shame in the game. But I like to start upright and focus on breathing into my lower back here and just creating that compression into the lower spine with your breath. And if you're new to yin, there's a couple things to notice. Like this is technically a back bend. And in yoga, back bends are actually a heat-inducing practice. So you might notice that you're a little warm just based on the fact that you're in a back bend and breathing right now. So try to tune into that inner heat. Take one last deep breath here. And as you exhale, hinge forward, fold, come into that sleeping swan variation. You can make a pillow with your hands or stay upright onto your forearms. Just choose what works for you today, what feels good. And just let gravity do the work here. If you've got that blanket underneath you, hopefully folded up nice and thick, you can really just let go and you're not really holding on to as much tension. Try to release all the tension that you feel into the ground with every exhale. We're coming into our final minute here. So just notice if there's anything that you're holding on to that you can let go of. Notice where you feel this pose the most and try to work on softening where there's tension. And a little tip in yin, tension is often held in your face. So just notice if you're clenching your jaw or squeezing your forehead, just relax your jaw, relax your eyebrows. With every inhale, expand and create space in your body. And with every exhale, just let gravity take you deeper. Taking one last nice big inhale here. And as you exhale, let it go nice and slow. On your next inhale, start to come up. Slowly make your way into table. Move slow. With yin, your body is in a vulnerable position. So coming out of that pose needs to be really intentional. And again, just choosing what works for you, stretching your legs back behind you one at a time, or downward facing dog. Your choice. Okay, if you've got your blanket, we're going to come into Sphinx pose and then seal pose. So I'm just going to fold my blanket up so I've got a little bit of padding underneath my hips and then have my bolster. So if you've got pillows, pillows are also nice to have to rest on. I'm going to take advantage of my bolster. It's luxurious. So we're coming into Sphinx. So come down so that your hips are on the blanket so they're comfortable. And if you've got a bolster or pillows, shove those underneath your belly or rib cage so they're propping you up. If not, that's fine. You're just stacking your elbows directly underneath your shoulders, and your shoulder blades are coming behind your back. And we're not thinking about rounding the shoulders forward. We're thinking about the heart being open. So your spine is nice and long, and you're getting a really nice back bend into your lower back here. You can also use a block for underneath your forehead. So if you really want to take this pose into a relaxing state, you can. Just ensure that the shoulders are not caving forward. Your shoulder blades are sliding down your back. And we're going to be here for 3 minutes. So spend some time just really enjoying what it feels like to breathe here. If you're someone that has a pretty healthy lower back, you might not notice much sensation in this pose, but when you really intentionally breathe in and out through your nose, you can change the sensations that you feel all over your body, and just do that. Your awareness is in your breath. And if you notice that your mind is wandering away, acknowledge that you're human and it's going to do that. And just notice, like, yoga is all about connecting with yourself and with others. So when your mind wanders away, you're losing that connection with yourself. And when you notice that happens, that's you regaining that connection with yourself. So then it's just about bringing your attention back into your breath, back into the sensations that you feel, and noticing your thoughts pass. We're about halfway through. And remember, we breathe all day, but never really with intention. So even if this is just if you're so relaxed here, this is your opportunity to breathe with awareness and create that full expansion into your lungs with your breath. And that's our final minute bell. When we really work on creating that expansion into the lungs, over time with focus, doing this every time we practice, it's going to create more lung capacity, more space. And that's going to help you with other activities, not just your yoga practice, but if you're a runner or active lifestyle, your breathing is going to be a lot easier with more space in your lungs. So just focus on your breath if that's all you're doing right now. Take one last deep breath here. And let it go nice and slow. If you've got your forehead on a block, lift it up. And start to come up onto your hands. Press your hips up, come to table. We're just going to adjust our blanket here so it's under the knees. So bring your blanket under your knees. Make sure it's folded up so it's nice and squishy under your knees. Tuck your toes under. And if you're like me and your baby toe needs help your baby toe so it's also tucked under. We're going to come into tiger. So I'm sitting in a toe stand right now. Feel free. We can do that for the final minute or the final 30 seconds. We're going to come into tiger for 3 minutes. It's essentially just child's pose. Like so. You can even have a block or a bolster for under your forehead. Whatever feels good. But the idea here is that your toes are tucked. And I'm going to start the bell. We've got 3 minutes of tiger. And then we're done. So just let yourself enjoy this final pose and breathe into your feet. Give your feet some attention with your breath. And you can stay here in tiger, or you can come all the way up and sit onto your heels and come into toe stand. Your choice. This is my yoga pose. This is my jam. Toe stand is what got rid of my foot inflammation that I had when I started practicing yoga. It did not feel very good when I started doing it. Now it feels easy to me. Some of us, this does not feel easy at all. So just work with where you are. And if at any point you need to come back forward and take tiger, you can. Nice, full, complete inhales and slow, steady exhales. And if you're in toe stand, start to come back forward into tiger. On your next inhale, come forward into table and lift your feet, squeeze your toes into a fist, and then spread your toes. Squeeze them into a fist, spread them wide. One more time, fist, spread them. Now tap them on your mat. Now lift them up and shake your feet. And there we go. Come to a seat on your mat, facing forward. We will close our practice in gratitude. Bring your hands to heart center. We'll close our practice with this message. Yoga, because punching people is frowned upon. Namaste. Thanks, badass yogis. I hope you enjoyed. Hey Yogi, Leah B here. If you enjoyed this class, why not catch the next one live? I host free 15-minute yoga for active bodies classes every week. All you have to do is head over to leahyogachick.com and register, and I'll send you the Zoom link. See you there.